What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I am, of course, your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Thursday. Glad to have a day today to just kind of unwind and relax. And I don't have to worry about wrestling product on my TV tonight, at least not until post Hard to Kill when I give TNA a chance and we see if that makes its way into the rotation as a Friday show. But that is the future. That is after the new year. That is after the world's end. But right now, we need to talk about the present, the here and the now, and the road to the world's end that AEW Dynamite gave us last night. It was definitely an interesting show. Very promo heavy. Not sure how I truly feel about that still. Lots and lots of promo segments. I know usually Go-Ho Raws and SmackDowns have a lot of hype and promos to try to drive home the last minute buys, if you will, even though it's now all on the Peacock and you don't really have to buy a pay-per-view. But they have those segments to really kind of hype and drive things home. But Tony was always supposed to be the alternative to that. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it all. But we're still going to go through all this. We've got Michael in the chat room. We've got the boss man himself here. The end of the world is nigh, and the questions now, while less in quantity, have intensified in quality. Will MJF leave his hometown as he entered, or will Joe truly kill the dreams of our scumbag? We will definitely have to see what happens as we get to the world's end. But Dynamite last night kicked off with a triple threat match to determine who would win the Gold League. Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland versus Jay White. And this was a good match to kick off the night. Like, I can't really say anything to knock the quality of the match. I'm just not so sure the right person won the match. You know, what happened to Jon Moxley going to be taking a bunch of time off that then got uprooted by the whole CM Punk fiasco? And CM Punk has been gone now for 4 months. What happened to that? Why are we giving Jon Moxley even an opportunity to be in the finals of this thing? I understand you wanted to have some name recognition throughout the tournament, and that's cool. But I'm not sure that Moxley winning the gold bracket was the right idea, especially when you got Switchblade Jay White, who isn't doing a whole lot right now. Juice is still MIA. The guns aren't really getting used. So a victory for Jay White here would have been huge. You got Swerve Strickland, who is over like crazy right now. And while on the one hand, I saw somebody in a group point out the fact that they're okay with Swerve losing because he should be chasing the world title. And to a certain extent, I agree with that. Just the fact that he would have made it to the finals in this, I feel like, he should have maybe gotten the victory here. At least he didn't get pinned. At least they still kept Swerve strong. But I'm still not convinced that Mox is the choice here. Don't get ahead of me, Jeff. Don't get ahead of me. Talking about who the Blue League winning opponent is, who it is. Don't get ahead of me, sir. We then had a video hyping up the Blue League finals that would be happening later on in the evening. Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston. And then we had an angry Swerve Strickland backstage cutting a promo about the promos basically that Keith Lee has been cutting on Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, talking about breaking down somebody's house brick by brick. Swerve's like, okay, you want to do this, let's do this. So Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland is now going to be a match on Saturday. Like has been being teased for the past couple of weeks. Going back to the Swerve in Our Glory breakup, should be a fun match to watch. Again, Keith Lee is another one who's very much been floundering since the Swerve in Our Glory breakup and could desperately use a victory here. But a victory over Swerve is just going to stop, halt, kill Swerve's momentum. So you almost have to have Swerve Strickland win in this one. We then had a Mariah May interview with Renee Paquette and saying that she has finally been cleared to make her AEW debut. And it'll be on the Dynamite after World's End. She will kick off the new year with her debut match on Dynamite. I think that's some great booking, honestly. Don't let her get lost in the shuffle of World's End. There's too much stuff going on as it is. So hyping her up to make her debut on the inaugural Dynamite of the year, I think is a solid move here. Tony then comes. Wait a minute. Okay, yes. My notes were a little bit confusing. This wasn't a backstage interview. This was an on the ramp interview. Should probably point that out because after Mariah May made her announcement, Riho came out to try to get her for having been involved in the Riho Tony Storm stuff as of late. Tony came out and made the save and had tried to attack Riho, but Riho cleaned house, chasing off Mariah May and Tony Storm. We then had a Top Flight interview. So this is now the third interview in a row. And let's not forget, we had a hype video to kick off all these interviews. We had Top Flight talking about their loss to the Acclaimed, and they say that there are more trios for them to compete against, that they will get another shot at the champions. Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta, and Rocky Romero walk in the frame, and Orange Cassidy's like kind of a nonchalant throws the challenge out, much like he did to Rocky Romero last week. I hear you talking like we're not standing 5 feet away over there. You want a shot, then let's go ahead and we'll do this. So Rampage is going to be Top Flight in Action and Ready versus Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta. We then went to another promo where Miro issued a challenge to Andrade El Idolo for World's End. Jeff says that there was a point made on social media last night that Tony Storm has provided us with the best meme renderable moments in AEW in 2023, and I find myself hard pressed to argue. That's fair. Like I've said for a minute, like Tony Storm has been the best booked woman character since the loss of Jade Cargill. And could argue the best booked character overall in AEW. But definitely the best booked woman, entertainment wise, presentation wise. the whole nine since the loss of Jade Cargill. Because you think about it, she didn't really begin her timeless transition until after Jade left. We then had Tony Schiavone introducing the Don Callis family for a Boxing Day celebration. There's gifts given out, portraits that have been designed with Don Callis and each member of the family. Sammy Guevara makes his return. And I'm not going to lie, for the majority of my time watching AEW, I could give two shits about that kid. But I was happy to see Sammy back. I'm not going to lie. And then the way he came out there and was like, long time no here, Don. Because Sammy's been gone now for quite a few months. Of course, Ty Conti, his wife, just had a baby. He was there for the delivery. He's been there post delivery for a few months, getting that time with the baby. Nothing but love and all that for him. So he starts calling Callis out, and Callis has this image for Sammy that has been painted as a Boxing Day gift. And they reveal it, and it's Don Callis, Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Konosuke Takeshita standing around Sammy Guevara, who is holding his baby. And Sammy, protective parent here, just like snaps. Who told you to put my child in this picture? We then had a 4-on-1 attack. Even Don was putting the boots into Sammy Guevara. Jericho hits the ring for the save. They clean the reign of the Callis family, hug it out because, we got to give the people what they want. And just as Jericho and Guevara are about to have a moment, Big Bill and Ricky Starks hit the ring and blindside them. The lights go out, and when they come back, Steen and Darby Allin are in the ring to help make the save. And this sets up and this gets announced later, but an 8-man match for World's End. And it's going to be Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Kyle Fletcher versus Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, Steen, and Darby Allin. Getting Steen on another pay-per-view prior to his finale at Revolution, good call. Making it a tag team match, perfect idea there. Kind of can keep him isolated, get the Stinger in for the hot tag, doesn't have to do a whole lot. We then have an interview with Roderick Strong and Renee Paquette. And Roddy basically breaks out a diagram explaining how MJF is the devil. Again, if y'all are keeping track, that's 1, 2, 3, 5 promos in a row plus a video package. And now we get to our second match of the night. Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston. And this was an intense match between two longtime rivals. Surprisingly, Kingston got the victory here. Maybe not so surprisingly with Mox having won the Gold League finals, but I think revisiting Mox versus Danielson would have been a banger of a match. Mox versus Kingston makes a little bit of sense also, but this entire tournament felt like it was being set up for Danielson to win. And it's I'm even less sold on Kingston winning this than I am Moxley. Because if Kingston wins this tournament, and becomes the first Triple Crown, the New Japan Strong Champion, the Ring of Honor Champion, and this Continental Classic Champion, then I feel like this entire tournament was just a dud. And I'm really trying to be objective and not subjective here. Half of the guys that were in the Blue League, I think, could out wrestle Eddie Kingston if he had a blowtorch and a wet paper bag. It's well documented I'm not a Kingston fan, but I feel like a lot of the guys that were in the Blue League were so much better than him by leaps and bounds that Kingston winning the Blue League and the tournament overall just isn't believable. And I get it. Wrestling is scripted. You've got to suspend your belief. But when you're making a tournament, you got a little bit more grounds for believability. And on the same token, if Mox gets this thing, why? Mox doesn't need it. I feel like there's so many better things that they could have done with this tournament. And if you want to know more about my thoughts, tune into Simply Predicting tomorrow. And see what Jeff's saying here. He's kind of blowing up the chat since he's the only one in the chat room, apparently. 6 of y'all watching, only Jeff commenting. Jeff says, I haven't had the chance to watch Dynamite yet due to my attending the Kings game last night, but it sounds like last night was all the promos, and the Continental Classic matches. Pretty much. Says, I agreed and quote tweeted this post last night. What are your thoughts? The Sammy Guevara Jericho crutch is exhausting. I was just getting behind him being part of the Callis family. I agree and I disagree. And I'm going to tell you why. I agree for a good chunk of this because Sammy Guevara really needed to get out on his own. But getting out on his own doesn't include joining another stable. Sammy joined the Callis family, and then I think they realized that they messed up because with Sammy on the verge of fatherhood, people were going to start popping for him more than they already had been. Because Sammy seems like he's kind of really changed from the kid that first got together with Ty Conti, if that makes any sense. You think about him proposing to his girlfriend of 8 years. Then you think about the social media post where they broke up. Then you think about a week later he was with Ty and all the negative energy that went with all that and how that kind of made him a bigger heel than he already was. And then over time, Sammy kind of regained everybody, their fandom and their trust back. He kind of showed that he had changed some. Him and Ty got married. Him and Ty got pregnant. You could see he was about to be a dad. Something about his aura on TV was starting to change. So I think with fatherhood, Sammy was going to be a natural babyface, and putting him with the despicable Callis family, I don't think was going to work long term. I honestly think that's why they put Kyle Fletcher in there, was so that they could get Sammy out. Now, whether him and Jericho last long term, or if they mutually decide to go their separate ways, and this is just a one-off teaming, who knows? It also could all be a ruse, and Sammy tricked Jericho into having his back just to betray him at World's End. That sounds like some tremendous storytelling. Sammy knew that Jericho would come out if he was getting beat up on because Jericho was desperate for a partner after Kenny went down with diverticulitis. So Sammy sets Jericho up to come out for the embrace just to backstab him at World's End. That's huge, I think, if they go that route. Jeff also says Kingston beating Moxley. Well, my personal feelings about it are what they are. Will fucking make Kingston. He'll be a Triple Crown champion and might just be a big part of revitalizing Ring of Honor. But will it be believable? That's the key. I don't buy it. If you lined everybody up in this tournament side by side and said, which one of these guys screams Triple Crown champion to you, Eddie Kingston would be towards the bottom of the list. Sorry, not sorry. Daniel in the house says he's listening via Bluetooth headphones, got back to his phone and is excited for World's End, just waiting for the devil to be revealed as Adam Cole. And I still hope they find someone other than Adam Cole, because I feel like Adam Cole is too predictable. But we'll see what happens come Saturday. Hopefully they'll make the big reveal in Nassau Coliseum. So after the Danielson-Kingston match, Mox comes out and checks on Bryan Danielson, cuts a promo on Eddie. Eddie then cuts a passionate promo back on Mox. This definitely allows for a tremendous go home for the tournament finals. There's some great chemistry here. There's a great dichotomy between Mox and Kingston because they've been best friends, they've been rivals, they've been partners, they've beaten each other to bloody pulps. So the promo definitely helped to set up what will more than likely be a tremendous match at World's End. But again, still not completely sold on either one of them being in the finals, let alone both of them against each other. Hey, look at this. We got another promo. What was supposed to be a sit-down interview between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage turned into a backstage brawl. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw this, I thought, an all-out brawl backstage. Is this a brawl out reference? I doubt it. It's just how crazy the storyline has gotten between Copeland and Cage. But knowing the fact that Punk is back in the E and knowing the fact that AEW likes to take petty ass shots at the E, wouldn't be surprised if this was supposed to be some kind of brawl out parody, haha. You know, Adam Copeland walking into where the interview's supposed to be, the Bucks coming into Punk's dressing room, and a brawl occurs. Just throwing out the similarities there. Jeff says, methinks I'ma have to be on Simply Predicting for more than just the obnoxious show purposes. I got to get into a big discussion on previewing some of these matches. We then had Chris Statlander versus Sky Blue. And this was a terrific women's match with Sky Blue hitting an avalanche code blue to pin Stat, furthering her development into this dark blue. Not really sure if they're going to change her name or whatever, but this new personification of Sky Blue with the darker outfit and the darker makeup and the darker music. Like, I am just loving every bit of this. Post match, we have Willow come out to try to help Stat, and Julia and Sky Blue double team Stat. Some crazy chaos goes on here. Then, as Sky Blue and Julia Hart begin to ascend up the ramp, Abaddon comes out so we can have a face-to-face between Abaddon and Julia Hart to set up for their match at World's End, kind of nail that home. Good storytelling there. Still not completely sold on Abaddon, but I do like the way that they brought her out to kind of drive home this whole feud that's going to be transpiring at World's End. Jeff says, I'm sure Sky beating you're not exactly faving Statlander didn't hurt either. Looking forward to watching this one back. I don't have anything against Stat. I just felt like after she dethroned Jade, she kind of landed in a rut. It's very much the exact same thing I'm afraid of with whoever dethrones Roman. Jade had a 500-something day reign as the inaugural TBS champion. 60-0 before losing it to Stat. Then Stat won it, and within a couple of months, that's not fair, within about 6 months, she drops it to Julia. She wasn't going to have a 500-plus day reign to top Jade. Her reign was going to be less than the inaugural champion. Roman has had a 1,200-plus day reign. Whoever dethrones them, whether they have a 3-month reign, a 6-month reign, a whole year reign, isn't going to come close to this reign with Roman, and it's always going to be looked at as less than. Any championship reign that follows is what it is, but it's that first reign after that's going to be held under the microscope. And that's what happened with Stat. And that was my issue, was that they finally gave her this victory. They gave her the belt from Jade, and then they didn't really feature her. They didn't highlight her like they've been highlighting Julia. So it wasn't that Stat wasn't a fave of mine. It just was that she was poorly booked. And Noah, huge Stat supporter and friend of the channel, didn't want to hear it. Chris says Sky Blue's the first wrestler to pin Statlander in a reign since Ruby Soho did it in May 2022. Didn't Julia Hart pin her to win the title? Just saying. I 100% agree, and you don't have anything specifically against Chris. It was just the nature of exactly. Julia Hart and Sky Blue may be something cooking for a women's tag team division, but AEW doesn't need a women's tag division yet. Have a feeling Sky Blue will take Julia Hart out soon. I hope not. I definitely don't think they need a tag team division. God knows they've got enough championships as it is right now. But I feel like the Sky Blue and Julia Hart thing needs to run for a little bit. We then had an interview backstage with Ruby Soho and Saraya. And this is just more shenanigans going on here. Ruby gets a phone call from Angelo Parker. Harley Cameron is brought in. Not exactly sure where this is going. Is Harley Cameron going to be Soraya's replacement for Ruby and Tony and a new version of the Outcasts? Since Tony and Ruby seem to have grown apart from her and gone their own ways. And then our main event for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, MJF and Samoa Joe versus two of the Devil's Henchmen. Devil's Henchmen come out to the ring to no music. MJF comes out. Joe's music hits. No Joe. We're shown on the big screen Joe taken out backstage. He's clutching his knee. He's been attacked. Max is like, okay, gonna do this. I'm doing this on my own. I've done it before. I'm gonna do it again. And Max puts up a valiant fight, not gonna lie. But the Devil's Henchmen get the better of him. There's a henchman that's hiding under the ring that comes out and attacks Max from behind, throws Max back in the ring. One of the Devil's Henchmen hits the Heat Seeker onto MJF for the victory. Ladies and gentlemen, your new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, the Devil's Henchmen. And I swear to God, y'all, we watched Vacant win championships. Because the Devil's Henchmen were dressed up in all black hoodie, black long sleeve, black gloves, black pants, black shoes. It was like looking at a picture of Vacant. It is very, very hilarious here to see the way that they have done this. They go for the big reveal, trying to pull off one of the masks. More masked henchmen come out. Samoa Joe finally comes down to the ring. He's limping, he's running, he's gimping. Gets in the ring. They chase off some of the henchmen. The devil appears on the screen. And then Joe cracks Max across the back with the chair. And why was I having Shield flashbacks? Just saying. Why was I flashing back to Seth Rollins cracking Roman Reigns with the chair in the ring? Jeff says, based on what I have read and what she said, it seems as if the henchman laid a keenly beat down on Max, and the third man hit Max very strong to end the ROH tag title run. Vacant is the true GOAT, the most prolific champion in history. I acknowledge Vacant. Daniel says the henchmen are going to be unmasked at World's End for sure now. God, I hope so. Definitely feels like Joe lowered the boom on Max here at the end, baby. Again, it's too predictable if it's Roddy the Kingdom and Cole. I pray to God they go some different direction. I really do. I don't know what I want. I don't know who I want. But I feel like everything else is just too predictable. And it's not going to be well received. That being said, that is the recap for AEW Dynamite. What did you guys think of Dynamite this week? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Before I get to the shells, I am going to do what I always do. And I'm going to show you the updated Jeff Meacham Network Multiversa Media watch-along trailer. We will be back in 40 seconds.
3, 2, 1!
And we are back. Jeff says, I'll lay my feelings out on how the Devil storyline has played out tomorrow on simply predicting, but I do agree that it being the foursome mentioned is predictable. And we at the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse Media would like to thank Fred Durst for the oversight that led to us using this song going forward. Daniel says he hopes I am right. All right. So, for those of you that still are not registered, signed up as a member for the Casa D18 Studios channel, that have not signed up for the members only section, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, we had 5 memberships gifted on the open mic night, eve of Christmas Eve karaoke spectacular that was this past weekend. So there's no excuse. But if you are a fan of pure classic wrestling, sign up to the members only section where you will find Noah Foster and I calling the greatest wrestling trilogy of all time. Nature Boy Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and their series for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Sweet Charlotte was gone by this point. This was contested for the big gold belt, but nonetheless, it was a hell of a series. We're talking almost 3 hours of Noah and I calling the action of these matches. Each match has a little bit of lead in from us, then the match itself, then a little bit of fallout from the match. One of the matches is almost an hour long on its own. The other two are about half hour plus the buffer discussion. Arguably some of the greatest content I have churned out yet for the members only section. It was our Christmas gift to you. Sign up, watch it, enjoy it. Cleaver is in the house. Interested to see this devil deal play out, but I'm not 100% sold on this pay-per-view. I'm kind of with you there, Cleaver. You know, I will give Tony Khan and AEW credit. The pay-per-views generally deliver despite the lack of build, and for the most part, any true storyline for the majority of the matches. They still manage to deliver, and with this possibly being MJF's last match as champion, definitely has my interest peaked because, to Emmanuel's point, do you think this is a sign that MJF going to WWE or not really? If rumors are to be believed, and I'm going to say that one more again, let's go ahead and italicize and highlight this on my computer writing program. If rumors are to be believed, Max has already signed an extension. However, what better way to play off the fact that those are rumors and that isn't true than to have Max lose the belt just before the end of the year so that we can kick off the first Dynamite of 2024 with the bidding war of 2024 angle. I'm just saying. I think that would be a fantastic way to end this year and start next year. We've been hearing about the bidding war of 2024 for a while. So Max losing the title 2 days before the new year would be a hell of a way to start off 2024. Jeff says, hell, Colin, Noah and James will be better on the call anyway. Just watch our coverage. That's fair. That's fair. All right. So coming up later today, Meech's Musings, reflecting on 2023. That'll be at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Going to be interesting to hear what Jeff talks about as he reflects on everything that has occurred in his personal life over the past year. Of course, it's been mentioned a few times. World's End coverage, Saturday, December 30th, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Going to be a hell of a time. I will more than likely be there for the pre-show. However, James and Noah will be on the call, providing all the action, all the play-by-play, all that stuff. So much good stuff. And then, open mic night, episode 100 on Sunday. Special guest surprises. Kicking off 8 o'clock Pacific, going all the way through until we hit midnight here on the West Coast. Probably not too much longer after that, if we are being honest, because we will have already hit all the time zones. James is working on highlight reels. I'm working on highlight reels. We've got all kinds of good stuff that's going to be discussed. Reflections, the past year of open mic night, and then. You think we're ending the year with a bang? This is just the first week of 2024. Talk Wrestling, No DQ year-end awards, day one watch-along coverage, For the Love of Wrestling, Stat Boy Sports Bar, New Year's Evil watch-along coverage, The Greg Cherry Show, Wrestle Kingdom watch-along coverage, Meech's Musings, SmackDown New Year's Revolution watch-along coverage, open mic night, and so much more. You don't want to miss out on any of it. So, that being said, make sure you guys tune in next Tuesday, the 2nd. I'll be back with my weekend coverage. Just like we did this week, I am taking New Year's Day off. But I will be back on Tuesday with my coverage of Rampage, SmackDown, and Collision. Wednesday will be Raw and NXT again, and then Thursday will be Dynamite as per the usual. And then we will be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. And we will see you next Tuesday for another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.